Okay, Jim Tavija back with you again, and I'm going to show you what to me is my favorite mixer for just general audio use and for using it in your computer. We've already talked about all of the digital USB audio interfaces that can allow you to get to convert your analog voice through a microphone into your computer with a USB interface which converts the analog into digital I/O, ones and zeros. This little device from Yamaha, this is one of their MGxXU series of mixers, which are my absolute favorites. And they have a number of things. This little one here, this is a 4 microphone. This is a 10xU. This has 4 microphones, and it's also got 3 pairs of stereo inputs, which gives you a total of 10 channels. What I like about this is that not only does it have the XU series tells you that it's also got a USB digital interface that'll go all the way up to 24-bit, 192 kilohertz sample rate. That's all part of this section down in here. And it's also got a built-in digital effects reverb, which is what most of you would know. It's got 24 different presets, and you can adjust them in terms of dry, which we call no effects whatsoever, to wet, which means that you've really overdone it. So you have to find somewhere in the middle that you really like. What I also like is it's got some built-in compressors. So these 4 inputs going from your left to right are all microphone inputs. Generally what I do when I first set this up is I put all of my white control knobs. If I was going to use 4 microphones, I put those at 12 o'clock, and then I adjust the individual channel gain by the white knobs across the top. Those are the master gain controls for each of the mic channels. And the reason for that is that you can also use these for line level inputs, which would be very, very hot. And so you would generally turn those all the way down if you were using line level inputs. So in this case, we're using this first channel for microphone level. So I have it just slightly before 3 o'clock. The white knob down here is the effects sends. I'm going to send whatever is on individual channels into the digital effects processing part. And you can see it's also got a control here. Right now I've got it shut totally off, but you can hear the difference in my voice as I change it by turning up the master gain control down at the bottom. So generally what I'll do is I'll have this particular knob set to 12 o'clock, and I'll use the master gain control at the bottom to wetten up my voice depending on what I want to do. There's all these individual presets. One of the ones that I like, and you control that from this knob here that's black, and you can change all the numbers. And then once you found one that you like, this is a plate, you push it down and it locks it in place. And so now I've got a plate reverb on my voice. And this was one that was very, very popular back in Frank Sinatra's day. They wanted to add a little bit of effect to it while the music was in the background. But my general favorite in this set is number 2. And I can turn it down so that it just has enough. And you can notice that it gives you a sense of a really big space. So you don't want to overdo it. Generally, I'll stick to around 9 o'clock or 8 o'clock because I just want to give my voice a touch. And when the music's playing in the background, it's very easy to overdo it. But you can just do whatever you want. But there's 24 presets in here, and you can try all of them and decide which ones you like. This one has a little bit longer decay, but you should try them all and play with them and decide which ones you really like the best. If you push that button there, it takes it totally out of the circuit, which is kind of a nice feature. Now you've also got, on all the mic channels, you've got 3 gain controls for equalization. You've got high, mids, and the low frequencies. They'll generally be at 12 o'clock, and then you can add or subtract whatever you want to put on your voice. And that's kind of nice. You've also got bass and treble controls for all of your 3 line inputs. You've also got the 3 send controls. And then the red knob is basically a pan control left and right. And you can see how you can change it to go from stereo or mono just by changing and putting it where you want. This connector up here, which is an A3M, is the input connector. The other end, which is the female side, goes into your microphone. You've also got a low pad switch, and goes from, you can get rid of all of the low rumble frequencies by using that. And then this button here converts it to line level. So generally on most of the microphones, I'll use the high pass filter button, and it'll get rid of all the really low rumbly frequencies that can be around on the stage. These cables here are the output cables. This set of cables is balanced. These are the ones that I'm running into the back of the camera. It's also got a set of A3M and A3F balanced connectors too. So you actually have 2 sets of outputs here. And then I've got my headphone jack over here on the left, and that's operated by a separate level control over here. This red knob down at the bottom is the overall output control of the entire board, and that's what I'm using to adjust to go into the camera. So once I have all of these parameters set, generally what I'm going to do is, once I've got my instrument and my microphone level set, then I'm just going to use this to control the master output going to whatever my recording device is. This is a real nice mixer to use with the Tascam DR40 that I showed you the other day. These take the same kind of connectors in the bottom of the DR40, and then you can use the DR40 as your storage device for whatever you're going to record. And at that point, the analog output part of this, you would set whatever bit rate and whatever sample rate you'd want to record in the DR40. Now this also has a USB jack on the back here that goes from B to A for going into your computer. So you can use this again as a digital audio interface just going into your computer, and it's got an on-off switch. And I happen to like the power supply that this has, as it's got a power supply. The transformer's in the middle of this, so it makes it easier to plug things in to your AC outlets. So that kind of gives you an overview. The other thing that I really like about this Yamaha is, generally speaking, when you're singing, you need to add a little bit of compression to your voice. Doesn't have to be a lot, but it kind of evens out your presentation when you're speaking or singing. These yellow controls here are the compression knobs for the mixer. It's got a built-in preset level that I think has been a pretty good compromise that Yamaha has done. And you'll notice that this will fatten up your voice a little bit more as you increase. It'll also seem to make your voice a little bit louder because we're going to compress it and we're going to raise it just a touch. And you can go all the way up. I think the top is like 10 to 1, which gets to be, that's quite a bit of compression. I'll generally stay, when I'm looking at these knobs, I'll generally stay at 11 or 12 o'clock when I'm using this. And you'll notice that, and one of the things that I've personally asked Yamaha to do on this next line of boards is they have to put these compressors on all of the mic channels. These are indispensable when you're trying to record, especially vocalists with either karaoke style, playing with background tracks, or if you had a guitarist playing. I've really asked them to do that on the next series of boards because I think that's really, really important. Now, if you're going to use condenser microphones, it's also got a red button here that'll apply 48 volts DC to all of the microphone inputs. If they're actually dynamic microphones, the 48 volts DC won't hurt it, but the condenser microphones will not work without a voltage applied to them. And so that 48 volt switch right here, you'll have to activate it if you're going to use some very high quality condenser microphones. So I hope that kind of gives you a pretty good idea of this interface. I really like this. This one sells for $209, and I think it's an absolute steal. They also make a MGxXU, and it actually has 6 microphone inputs. 3 of them have the compressors built in, and they go all the way up to an MGxXU, which has 12 microphone inputs. 6 of them have the compressors built in. It's got the same digital I/O, so using this as an USB interface for your computer. It's also got the 24 built-in effects. It's basically just the same. It's just a bigger unit and just gives you a lot more channels to deal with. So if you have any questions, once again, let me know in the comments section. But this is my favorite mixing desk. I do believe that the Mackeys are a little bit cleaner, but they don't have the built-in effects. They don't have the built-in compressors. But I do think that for overall quality, the Mackeys are just a touch better. But I still think for the average person, I've used the bigger unit. I have a 16-channel one as well that I've used when I was at school, teaching school, and we would have assemblies and stuff. I would use that one. So if I needed to use more microphones, I could. And then in a lot of cases there at school, the kids would be singing tracks. And so I could put those into one of these inputs here for stereo. And I have 2 large Yamaha SFM12 monitors there, a horn-loaded 12-inch PA type speaker. And I've also got, I store those out in the garage area. And I've also got a 300 watt per channel QSC amp that I would run balanced. And then this would control the entire PA system for the school. So, and that was extremely portable. I would set it up. It's on a little cart. I would wheel it all in and set it up. Take me about 15 minutes to set it all up. But again, the Yamaha MG series, go to YamahaUSA.com and check them out. But for $209, if you're going to get started recording, this is the mixer that I would recommend to you. So hope you've enjoyed this, and enjoy.